Hi guys, welcome to another episode of UNWALLED. Of course, you already know what UNWALLED is. We talk about those conversations that are needed to be had. And we talk about the practicality of the Christian life and all that is, needed to run the race. So on this episode of UNWALLED, we're being practical. We're talking about being light. My name is Grace, and with me I have
Maryam.
all right. So, Miriam, just being curious, we talk about light. Like, what exactly does light mean? When you say shine as light, or you are the light of the world, or be light, what exactly does it mean?
Well, in and of itself, light is an element that helps us see. So it illuminates the area for you, and you're able to basically perceive what's around you. And so when we talk about it in the biblical sense, light is like bringing forth the character of Christ so that it's all pointing back to God and glorifying Him.
Yeah, when you said what light was, I just had this picture of when PHCN take light, and then you need to see all around you. You like put a torch in front of you just so you see your way. So light is something that it illuminates, it shows what is around you, clearing the darkness around. And it just reminds me of John 1:5, where it says light shines and darkness cannot comprehend. Darkness cannot stay where light is. Do you remember Matthew 5:14-16,
where it talks about how we should be the light, and the light is put on the hill, so it cannot be hidden. Like, no one sets up light and then hides it. The whole point of light is because you want to see, because you want it to shine and make everything like visible. So in Matthew, it talks about how we are called to be the light, and being that light meaning we need to come out and shine. So that's why it's a very important topic, being light, because it's something that we have to do, and we have to do openly and showingly, because light shines, it doesn't hide.
Yeah, very important, like very, very important point. In case you're wondering why we are doing this, it's just to let us know that there is this aspect of the Christian life that it's expected of us to shine. Like you said, no one, puts a torch or something where there's darkness and then you just cover it with a bowl or something. You need the light to see. And God has told us that we are the light of the world. So it is expected for us to shine. We are supposed to shine. And, it just, verse 16 says, let our light shine that men will see and give glory to God. It just further emphasizes the points that as a light, we are supposed to show men the character of God. It's all for the glory of God. Do you have any more thoughts, comments on it?
And also in like Psalms, where it talks about light, it talks about how the word is a light to our path.
Yeah.
So what that just goes on to say, and we know the word is Jesus, obviously. So Jesus being the light is revealing our path to us. So it's important to then, as His creation, made in His own image, to be the light to others in this world. So being light in the world technically just means showing people their path, like revealing to them what they need to see in that instant.
And that's true. Light could also be knowledge, light could be understanding. You see, Jesus was talking one time and He said, light has come into the world, but people don't want to see the light.
Yeah.
Talking about Himself, like they want to remain in darkness. So what light does is that light exposes darkness.
Exactly.
Light and darkness cannot coexist together.
Yes.
So as light, you just have to shine. You have to expose every work of darkness, because that was what Jesus did. Come in, He said, I am the light of the world. Anyone who believes in me will also be light. I think it's in John, one of the letters of John, that He says, when we fellowship with God, we are also light.
Mm-hmm.
So we just have various scriptures telling us that, as lights, we are to behave like Christ. And what Christ came to do was to expose the work of darkness, expose the work of wickedness, and bring order, bring God's kind of order. Can you share like practical ways of being light?
Just like going off what you said about light and darkness not coexisting, a very easy, straightforward, practical way to be light is not coexisting with like darkness. That's like evil. You have to shun evil. So say your friend or just someone you know that isn't doing something right. Being light means not looking away because in that sense you're hiding that light.
Wow.
So it's the easier thing to do to look away. So
Yeah, very true.
but since we're called to be light, if we're truly going to be light in such an instance where you see darkness, you take your light. So that is, you need to go and expose that. Or just for starters, you cannot stay in that place. So that is, you cannot be friends with someone who is living in darkness and think that's okay. Because if truly you are light and you're in a friendship with someone who is in darkness, that person should have evidence of light because you two cannot coexist.
Sure.
So one practical way I would say to even assess yourself is by looking about the people around you. Are you seeing them living in sin, doing things that they shouldn't be doing? If they are, then you need to even check yourself because you're not showing them how to live. You're not leading by example. You're not leading them to God in that instance and bringing glory to Him, as we rightly said, being light is. So, the other very practical step, which you've already mentioned, is illuminating that darkness. So that is when you see something going wrong, you can't keep quiet. So when your friend is maybe living in sin, it's not only one thing to run away and say, okay, I won't stay with you. Since you're darkness, I will run away. No, being light means staying there and making that person also see the light. So you have to correct them in whatever way is right. There's no one way to be like light in that instant. Because sometimes it's like exposing people, meaning say you're telling people about this thing or seeking help. But other times being light is even just revealing it to them because they might not even know they're living in darkness. So being in light is revealing it to them. And in the instance where they do stay in darkness, you can't stay with them and still be light. One of you is going to have to impact the other. You can't stay light and they stay darkness and yet you stay together. It can't coexist.
Like there are some very important things I've picked from what you said, and the people around you are supposed to show evidence of your light. So if you're in a place and your light is shining, like it's supposed to be seen reflected in the people around you. So like, who are your circle? Who are the people around you? How are they affecting your light? How is your light shining for others to see? And one thing that I've noticed we've been saying back and forth is ensuring that you show people how to live, God's standard, exposing the works of darkness. This is what light does. And with all these things that we've been saying, it just makes me think, is being light actually easy? Because we make it sound like, being light, shining, exposing the work of darkness. But is it actually as easy as it sounds?
It definitely, the way it's taught, it really sounds like it's one easy thing to just go there and shine.
I agree.
But then when you think about it, it's really not easy because that's like living an exemplary life 24/7. Light doesn't just diminish unless you're NEPA, of course. Then you can't just go. But the light we're called to be, it doesn't diminish. If you are light, then you should always be shining. And so wherever you go, you should be taking that character of God with you. And like I taught this lesson to like my little siblings once, and to them for their stage, I just like would tell them, you have to smile, you have to be happy, and like share that positive energy, and that way you're just sharing light to others. You can't be always grumpy, throwing tantrums, and think you're Jesus's light. And so in different aspects of our lives, there are different ways that you can just reflect God, and that way I think that would be light. And then now that you brought that up, is there any time you think maybe you were light and it's either paid off well or not?
I can definitely think of not. So like, the common practice when we are writing like this WAEC is like a secondary school certification, exam. And the normal thing to do is to cheat.
course.
Even parents endorse it because they're like, WAEC is so hard, WAEC is so hard. If they give you chokes, take oh. If they give you this thing, better take, better take, better take. So I was like, you know what? A few of my friends and I, we decided that for WAEC, we will not cheat. And it was so difficult because we were like 108 students and we were like only 6 of us that decided that, you know what, we won't cheat during WAEC. And I can remember, like, it just felt so strange. People were looking at us like, who are these ones? So as far because
who do you think you are?
Like, who do you think you are? And then for teenagers who were craving our fellow teenagers, you know, praise and validation, it didn't really sit well because they treated us like these people that, oh, holy, or they're just these names that they give people. And to be very honest, I wasn't happy about it. I wasn't happy about it. But looking at it now in retrospect, I was glad I did that.
Yeah.
It helped my integrity in a way. So, you know, at least I can boldly say, I wrote my work and I passed with my own hand, you know. What about you? Any experience?
I had a similar experience with like junior WAEC, and like you said, everyone was like ready to cheat, and for some reason the invigilators actually stepped out of our hall. So it was crazy. Everyone was running to like actually collect answer sheets and all of that. And at that point I was like, no, I'm not going to do it. First off, because I didn't think I needed anyone's answers. So people wanted me to give them answers, and I was just, after the exam, because I refused, like my classmates would come to me and be like, what do you think you were doing? Do you think you're better than us? And all of that stuff. So besides the fact that being light is already hard in itself because you're staying true to God, there's also the backlash from people.
True.
So it's definitely another reason like being light isn't so easy. And second, with this backlash, the biggest thing I faced with like being light, I guess, or maybe I'm just covering myself, but I was known as the family snitch. So like whatever anyone does, I'll be the one to not tell my parents. So maybe hindsight, I can say I was being light. I didn't want them to stay in their stubbornness and get irritated. So that's one thing, like kids these days, my 5-year-old brother is scared of like coming to say what his cousins are doing because he doesn't want to be known as the snitch. And that's something we endorse. Like, exactly, everyone wants to fit in and be popular and all of that. So that's another challenge with being the light, but nonetheless, it doesn't stop us from being the light.
It doesn't, because I know that one thing about light is light doesn't try to fit in. It always stands out. When you on a torch or a candle or whatever it is in a dark room, it always stands out. So things that we've said concerning this episode is being light is showing the nature of God. You don't fit into customs or traditions. You stay true to the word of God. It helps your integrity. It helps you to show the character and the nature of God regardless the cost. And of course, we should expect that this cost will come. But I hope this has helped. It's just to help us, to remind us that we are the light of the world. We are a city set on a hill. God has so much pride in us that He says, I've chosen these ones to shine for my glory, and we are not supposed to fit in. We are not supposed to back down. We are supposed to stand out against the work of darkness, expose them, and influence those around us.
And always remember to point them back to God, because if you're doing it and it's not to glorify God, you're not getting it right.
Yes. All right, guys. We hope this has blessed you. And if you're so tired of being the light because of the backlash and everything you're receiving, this is just an encouragement. The world is not meant to accept you. You are light, you stand out. So the world is not meant to accept you. I mean, it didn't accept Jesus, so why should it accept you? But God has given us strength, and God has promised us that we would overcome. So from Maryam and I, we want to encourage you to keep being light. And if you have been compromising before, this is just a wake-up call to stand up and shine as light. God has made you the light of the world. You are set on a hill. You are supposed to show an example 24/7. So we hope this has really blessed you guys. We would love to hear your comments. Any way that you stood out as light and you received backlash or you were praised, please engage us in the comment section so that we can also read and share with others. Please share this video to at least 5 people. Being light starts from now, so share the video with at least 5 people. Make sure you like and make sure you comment. So from the UNWALLED community, we hope to see you on the next episode. Keep staying as lights and make sure that your light points to Jesus. All right, bye guys.
I climb to the highest mountain.